What's up guys, we're going to be doing a deck profile for Predaplant. So this deck is a deck I haven't done a deck profile on before, and the thing is I haven't really seen many deck profiles with Predaplants, and I figure I've been playing this for a while, I might as well put up my own deck profile for it. So let's just get started. Alright, so starting off with monsters, we're playing 3 copies of Predaplant Spinodionea. So this card, when summoned in any way, normal or special summoned, you can target a face-up monster on your opponent's side of the field, and it gets a Predator counter. Now, if it has a Predator counter, it becomes a level 1 monster, and basically, after this card attacks a monster that is a lower level than this, you can special summon any Predaplant monster from your deck. But that's not the main point of why we put a Predator counter on our opponent's monster, it's to do something else. So, playing 3 of this to put a counter on your opponent's monster, not to mention it's an 1800 beat stick, but it's to help out bring out our Predaplant Yugioh. So Yugioh, you can actually special summon this card by tributing an opponent's monster with a Predator counter. So what this means is that's basically a kaiju. So if you normal summon Spinodionea, put a counter on your opponent's monster, and then tribute that opponent's monster to special summon Yugioh. This is also a tuner, so a level 6 and a level 4, that makes a level 10. So if you have any level 10 synchros, then you can definitely go into it really easily with just these 2 cards alone. And if this card leaves the field, then put a Predator counter on any monster your opponent controls as well. And that means they're all level 1, so again, Spinodionea will get the benefits of that. We are playing 3 copies of Predaplant Chlamydo Sundew. This card is basically a polymerization right off the bat. You don't have to use polymerization because it's just his effect plus any Predator plant monster in your or any other material. Actually, it doesn't even have to be a Predator plant monster. It can be any material on your field or in your hand as well. So definitely a really great card to just help go for a fusion summon. And we're playing 1 copy of Predaplant Drosophilum Hydra. This card is again another kaiju, but this card is even better than Yugioh simply for the fact that it tributes also from the graveyard as well. So you can even kaiju your opponent's monsters from the graveyard. The problem is that it's just not a tuner, so it lacks that, and its secondary effect is not that great as well. It's just basically banish another Predator plant monster from your graveyard, and one of your opponent's monsters loses 500 attack. So it's alright, but overall it's mostly the fact that it's a kaiju from the graveyard, which is really awesome, and it is 2300 defense, so not too bad of a wall there as well. But I'm playing 1 of them because, again, with Spinodionea, it's so easy to just use him as a kaiju. You basically have 4 kaijus right there, Yugioh and Hydra. Of course, this is a Predaplant deck, so we're playing 3 copies of Predaplant Orthra Scorpio. So Orthra Scorpio is played in every single deck as an engine, and it's just, of course you're going to play it in a Predator Plant deck, so might as well, yeah? Now, of course, in conjunction to that, we are playing 2 copies of Darlingtonia Cobra. So Darlingtonia Cobra allows you to add any polymerization or fusion spell card from your deck to your hand. It can only be used once per duel, but overall we're playing 2 just in case we draw into it. But with this and Orthra Scorpio, it's just a really great card, and it does have to be special summoned, but it's fine. To end things off with the Predaplant monsters, we are playing 3 copies of Predaplant Saraceniant. This card's basically your hand trap in the deck. If your opponent attacks, then you can special summon this card from your hand, and if this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, then you can also destroy the opponent's monster as well. So definitely a really good card. Actually, it's after damage calculation if it battles an opponent's monster. It doesn't even have to be destroyed. It just destroys the opponent's monster. And if this card is actually destroyed by battle, or if it's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, then you can add any Predaplant monster from your deck. Actually, Predap card from your deck. So you can even add the spell cards if you want as well. Alright, so for the non-Predaplant monsters, we are playing 3 kaijus here. We're playing 1 Radian, a Kumongus, and a Gameciel. This card, or these particular cards, they're just there to tribute more opponent's monsters. So overall, you're technically playing a total of 7 kaijus in this deck. The thing is, I'm not playing kaiju slumber, if you guys are wondering. It's just these guys will just take care of all your opponent's difficult monsters, helps you break your opponent's co-linked monsters. So Nightmare Gokis right now are really prevalent, and with their whole co-link lock, it's definitely difficult to get over. So I'm playing 3 of this. I might even try to bump it up, but overall I'm pretty happy with what I have here. Alright, so for spell cards, we're playing 2 copies of Predaponics. This card allows you to special summon any level 4 lower Predaplant monster from hand or graveyard. The only thing is it locks out the effects, so you can't activate any of the effects, but it does provide you with fusion material, and during your standby phase, you either pay 800 or destroy this card. It's up to you. So not too bad of a card to give you materials at all times, so definitely worth playing it too. A lot of people have actually taken it out of their deck completely, but I do still think it's a great card to play. Playing 3 copies of Predapruning. This card is basically Monster Reborn. So if you destroy this card, then basically the monster's also gone. But overall, the fact that it's a Monster Reborn is just so good. And you can bring back any of your Predaplant monsters from your graveyard. And I mean any Predaplant monsters, even the fusions. Alright, so speaking of the whole Orpheus Scorpio and Darlingtonia Cobra combo, you basically can search up so many fusion cards from your deck. So we're searching out 1 Polymerization, we are playing 1 Fusion Substitute, we can also search for an Ultra Polymerization. Yes, this card's actually a really good card. And we are playing 2 copies of Instant Fusion as well. So overall, we have plenty of targets to search for here, and this is going to work with both Chimera Rafflesia's effect as well from her graveyard, and also with Darlingtonia Cobra's effect as well. So definitely want to maximize as much as you can. Instant fusions are pretty self-explanatory. You want to play Relinquished and then use it as link fodder, or perhaps even fusion fodder, and I'll show you the extra deck. There's a few interesting choices I've put in there as well, but Polymerization, Fusion Substitute, 1 of each, because the Fusion Substitute obviously shuffles back your Fusion monster and allows you to draw a card. Just a great card. Ultra Polymerization is basically a 1-card Deco Talker, so I just go for it. It's not necessarily a 1-card Deco Talker, but I'll show you the combo in a specific video for it, but just trust me on this one. It's a really good card to play in this particular deck. It might seem bad, but it is actually a really good card. Then we're playing 1 copy of Dark Hole because we're only allowed 1. You can take it out, put in Raigeki if you want. Playing 1 Monster Reborn, of course. Playing 3 copies of Allure of Darkness. Now, this deck lacks a lot of draw power, so got to play whatever you can to actually allow you to draw cards. And I figure Allure of Darkness, although you're getting rid of a lot of cards in your deck, or the monsters and everything like that, I still think it's worth playing 3 copies. I wouldn't play any less than that. It's been working out pretty well for me. And we are also playing 2 copies of Pot of Desires. Yes, again, you're playing mostly 3 copies of most of the Predaplants, so overall, I'm not too fussed about losing cards from the deck. It's more so I just want to have hand advantage, because you just want to be able to do stuff against your opponent, and I figure 3 Pot of Desires works. Most of the time, I just use Pot of Desires as bait to force the opponent to negate it with Ash. That way I could actually go over my actual plays, and yeah, it's just a really great card, even as bait. And we're ending things off with 2 copies of Twin Twisters here, because these days back row is becoming more prevalent. Field spells, pendulums are just becoming so prevalent that it's worth playing Twin Twisters in this deck as well. And whatever Predaplants you discard to the graveyard, you could easily just bring back with Predapruning or Predaponics. So no big deal there. Good synergy, all works out. So that's it for the main deck. Let's move on to the extra deck. Alright, so for the extra deck, we're playing 2 copies of Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon. I'm actually going to read out this effect simply because not many people actually know about it. Now, I play this card specifically to just win the game. It does end games right there. So Its effect is it must first be fusion summoned. Once per turn, you can target a face-up monster on the field. Until end of this turn, you can change its attack to 0. Also, its effects are negated. Now, if this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can destroy as many monsters on the field as possible, and then banish a level 8 or higher dark monster from your graveyard and special summon this card back out. So a really, really, really powerful card here. With that being said, you could basically do stuff to even clear out the board off his own effect and then just banish off your Starving Venom Fusion Dragon from your graveyard and then special summon him back out and end the game. Or you could just change the attack to 0 and attack for 3300. So I usually go into this just to end the game here, and yeah, it's just a really cool card. Playing 2 copies of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, this card is more common to go into, but basically just gain the attack of one monster on the field, one of your opponent's monsters, and then you could also target a level 5 or higher monster that your opponent controls, and this card's name and effect also become those effects as well. And if this card leaves the field by getting destroyed, then you can destroy all special summon monsters your opponent controls. So not as strong as Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon, but overall it still does the job, and it is one of the more common cards that I do fusion into. Speaking of the other common fusions we can go into, we also play 3 copies of Predaplant Chimera Frazier. This card is just a really great card to deal damage to your opponent. It can even banish monsters that have a lower level than itself. So overall, really good card. And in the next standby phase, if it's in the graveyard, add a polymerization or fusion spell card from your deck to your hand. So definitely a really great card to go into. We are playing Sea Monster of Theseus. This card is an instant fusion target, allowing us to get a free level 5 tuner, allowing us to go for many things. Playing 1 copy of Millennium Eyes Restrict. You can play Thousand Eyes Restrict if you want as well, but you basically just take your opponent's monster, and it's just a really good card to go into. And also it's dark, so it's also a fusion material monster. Playing 1 copy of Phantom Knights of Breaksword. Just sometimes you want to pop some cards, and this is just a great way to extend a bit. Go into this, pop your opponent's monsters, pop itself, and then you opened up a free zone for you to actually fusion summon into and attack as well. So, pretty good card there. Alright, so we're playing 1 copy of Star Eater. It's just a card that I can actually go for, actually, believe it or not. It's a level 11, so it is definitely possible with the multiple monsters we have in our decks, with the different levels that they all have. So, really works there. That's kind of the thing with Theseus here, so this card is pretty much brought out with the Orpha Scorpio. So summon Orpha Scorpio, special summon out Darlingtonia Cobra, search for instant fusion, activate instant fusion, bring out Theseus, and then synchro into an 11, which is Star Eater. Just a very powerful card that your opponent has very difficulty dealing with here. Also playing 1 Leo, Keeper of Sacred Tree again. Spinodynea and Banks Yoga easily just go for the Leo right there, so it's really easy. For level 8, we're playing a Cyframe Lord Omega plus a Bills of the Diabolic Dragons, just because, again, it's really easy to go into these cards with Banks Yoga and the Clamido Sundew. We're also playing 1 copy of Black Rose. Again, we could just go into so many different things. But yeah, to end things off, we're playing 1 copy of Deco Talker here as well, because sometimes a link zone is needed. So yeah, we go for it, but it's just an option. I don't really use it in the game. I mostly just use the 1 fusion at a time, and I could deal with my opponents. Alright, so it looks like we actually have 16 cards in here, so let's actually take out 1 Greedy Venom, because it's a card that we don't really go for. Yeah, that's 15 cards in the extra deck, that's it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile, and hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you next time.